Well, I'm here with President Regier, and we're going to be talking about board nomination and director nominations, which is a responsibility of the Senate for the Montana Majority Report.
Ready, set, showtime. Welcome to the Montana Majority Report. Quick, transparent, and informative. Get the inside scoop on policies, people, and decisions shaping our state, all in less time than it takes to pour your morning coffee. Stay tuned. Montana starts right here.
So, President Regier, as you know, the Senate has a constitutional obligation to confirm board appointments and appointments to the directors in the governor's branch, executive branch. So can you just kind of dive into that and tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you're right. That is constitutional duty to, as well as in code. We've got in code a lot of Senate confirmations here in Montana. I did not know how many boards we have until I started assigning these all to committee, but there are boards of the chiropractic board. We have a board for athletic trainers. We have there was fish, wildlife, and parks. I mean, there is board after board. I would imagine there's probably up to 100 different board members that we've already given to committees. And that's just the start of it. There's still another pile of board members.
A lot of health boards that we have to confirm.
Yep. Senator Lenz there in Health and Human Services. I know he's got quite a load to carry. Senator Nolan, Business and Labor. They're all labor boards. Electrical board. I mean, board of investments. I mean, you've got all sorts of different people.
I chaired that committee last session, so I had to carry. I don't think it was probably up around 30 or 40 nominations that had to be carried to the Senate floor.
Oh, I didn't even know that. You were chair of Business and Labor.
Public health.
Oh, public health. Yeah, that one too. It's got a lot. But
so the Senate also has a role in confirming judges. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, and we've got a couple different judges that I think Senator Usher there in Senate Judiciary has already had hearings on. We had one judge, Judge Herring, I believe, out of Sydney, over there in eastern Montana, because Judge Regier ran for the Supreme Court and got elected. So that leaves a vacancy. Got Judge Herring, I believe, that Senator Usher has heard on Senate Judiciary, and that was appointed by the governor. So when there's a vacancy and a hole in the district court that needs to be filled, the governor then appoints somebody to fill that. And then we get that person, their resume, that person shows up and testifies. The committee gets to ask that nomination all the questions that they need to ask to figure out, is this the best person to fill that vacancy in district court? And that just goes until the next election, right? All our judges are elected. So that's just to fill the interim until there is an election.
But I know in the 21 session, I think I was on judiciary, and we did have one judge that we didn't confirm. So even though they're appointed judges by the governor, the Senate can confirm them or not confirm them. And if the Senate doesn't confirm, then what happens?
And that's a great point, Mr. Majority Leader. And this is my, I would say, purest look at this process. And this is probably a little bit of rub between whether it's departments or whoever in the Senate of there's that notion, you'll even hear it on the federal level of, oh, Trump won, they just need to put all his guys in, right? Let him have his picks. It's like, and there's some of that same sentiment here in the halls or even with some Montanans that have talked to, well, the governor won, let's just give him all his directors and his picks. And to me, that's not the process. It's if you're going to do that, then don't have us confirm. Just say, hey, yep, governor gets to choose, and away we go. But there is a confirmation process, like you said. It's in the Constitution. We need to go through that process and ask some tough questions. Say, hey, give a big round of applause to the guys that we say this is a great pick, and ones that we have reservations on. Then we need to vote that way and say, hey, let's throw somebody else up there. And see, is that somebody we want different running that department or that judicial vacancy? I think that's our job when it says Senate confirmation.
Yeah, the Senate has a unique role, different from the House, on confirming governor appointments to boards, judicial appointments. But in Article 6, Sections 8 and 9, I think, in the Montana Constitution, it gives the Senate a particular role on confirmations. And I think also let's talk a little bit about when a governor's elected, even if he was previously elected in a previous term. Then what's the role of the Senate then? Does he get to keep all the ones that he had before, or do we have a role there in reconfirming, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, and once again, and we put this in our rules to start out this session, making that abundantly clear. I don't think it was abundantly clear. In my mind, it was.
Yeah.
It says every term of the governor, right, that the Senate needs to confirm those directors, those board members, those people that the governor has picked. And a term is, to me, obviously 4 years for a governor, right? The governor has to go back to the people in Montana and say, do you want me to do another term? And the people in Montana have to confirm that governor for another term. Why would we not confirm then all the new directors that were confirmed 4 years ago for that, to me, that 4-year term of the governor? And to point on this, too, of the Senate's totally different. Every 4 years, everybody's, half the Senate is flipping over every 2 years. So it's, the Senate makeup now between now and 4 years ago is quite different.
It is quite different. I want to talk a little bit about directors. There are, I think, 16 directors that we need to confirm from the governor's office. And what's the process? How does that all work? And just explain that for us.
Sure. So the governor gets to pick. He picks his guys and says, I want X person to run Department of Health and Human Services. I want this person to run Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and so on. And then they send a nomination letter to me as the president and say, I nominate so-and-so to run so-and-so department. And I take that down. It gets drafted as a resolution. I would like to, we've got a little problem now with the temporary rules that we're in. We've got it all going to one guy that has had troubles, I would say, that just even the logistics of having one guy carry all those directors, to me, is not right. It should go to the proper department that is in. Health and Human Services should be with Senator Lenz in Health and Human Services. He's been working with him, right? Department of Transportation should be with Senator Temple. He's the chair of transportation. That makes total sense. So right now, then, those directors I've got a few of them that have been nominated by the governor, not a lot, maybe a third of them, and just waiting until we can figure out this whole ethics hearing and hopefully get some permanent rules and get those directors in the right committee.
So that's the process. You basically would send those directors to a committee. The director of FWP would go to Senate, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So because those members have been working with that director, they have the most intimate knowledge. Public Health works with the director of DPHHS on the money, on the policies, and so they have the best ability to ask the tough questions. As you talked about, this is not a rubber stamp of a governor's nomination. Even though we may be very pleased with the director, we still have to go through the process. After the committee looks at that issue, then what happens? Yeah,
then the committee, and to your point then of the expertise, Health and Human Services, hearing the director of Health and Human Services, they give their recommendation. So the committee that's most familiar with the director, they give their recommendation, say yes, thumbs up, no, thumbs down, and that goes then to the entire floor, and all the Senate gets to vote on it, no matter how it came out. So we're just taking that recommendation from the committee, making the case on the floor, and then either saying, hey, yep, try again, Governor, or yep, we like him. Godspeed to you. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know we had a judicial nomination in 21. We actually said no to that nomination, and it went to the floor, and the floor said, no, you guys were wrong. We're going to say yes to this. So just because the committee recommends a confirmation doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen or vice versa.
That's absolutely right. At the end of the day, it's up to the entire Senate on whether they want to confirm or not confirm.
So how would members of the public weigh in on this?
Yeah, so that's another part of the committee process, and just like a bill hearing, it's going to be a resolution that usually the chair carries. They can give it to somebody else if they want, but the chair of that committee is going to carry it, and they open on it. The public can come and weigh in and say, hey, I've had this problem with that judge or this director, didn't give me the special bull tag that I wanted, so don't confirm that Fish, Wildlife, and Park director. I mean, the public can weigh in on any of that, and I always encourage on all these interviews, whether it's a bill or a director. I mean, directors have a lot of influence over the departments and the direction and the way the state's going, and weigh in on that. I think the people in Montana, the more we hear the voice of them, the better this government's going to be.
Well, thanks, Mr. President. This is a great interview to just talk about how the public can be involved, this unique role of the Senate given by the framers of the Constitution to confirm government appointees by the governor. It's just not, there's a lot of checks and balances in government, and I think that's a good, healthy thing.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit to that, Majority Leader, of just the check and balance, and even maybe your take on the value of Senate confirmations and what that means to state government as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's just another look. So the governor appoints these directors, and the Constitution actually says you can't have more than 20. We have 16. There's 2 that are in the Constitution, Agriculture and Department of Labor. So those we have to do. But frankly, the other 14 are departments that are at the discretion of the legislature. So I think it's important for people to realize that every step of the way in government, there's a check and there's a look to say, is that what we really want to do to make sure the process is clean, pure, and transparent?
Yeah, I think you hit it there on the check and balance. And this is totally going a rabbit trail, but the judicial branch, when they say we're an independent branch of government, it's no. I mean, in Article 7 there, 22 different times it says legislature or by law. Our Constitution gives that check and balance. And here's another check that the Senate gets on the executive branch. We're not independent branch of government. The governor gets to veto our bills. That's a huge check on the legislative branch. So to your point, I love that.
And I think, too, that you have to realize that this is the branch that's the most transparent, our branch, the legislative branch. You don't get to go into the governor's office unless you have a special relationship or a connection to lobby him. You don't really get to go into a judge's chambers. I mean, you probably could if you knew the guy, but what's unique about the Montana legislature is it's totally open and transparent. Any member of the public can come and offer their public comment at a point in time in the committee hearing where that's offered up.
Yeah.
Testify, proponent or an opponent. If you really like the judge or you really like the director, you can come in as a proponent and say, this is the greatest guy, he did all these good things. Or if you don't, you can say, you guys shouldn't confirm this person.
Yep, exactly. And you can do that face to face. Like any time you can find 6 legislators out here by the snack bar grabbing their soda and hot dog or whatever, and you can start lobbying them. So you probably got stories too. I answered my phone one time and a gal said, I'd like to talk to Senator Regier. Or leave a message for Senator Regier. That was it. And I said, well, you got him. And she was like, wait, you're him? I said, yeah. She goes, I just moved here from California. And she goes, there's no way I'd talk to one of my legislators in California. She was blown away that we don't have staff and we just answer our own phone and you can come in the halls and talk to us face to face.
Yeah, I think I've heard that from other legislators that Montana is one of the most open, transparent governments in the whole United States in terms of access. So we pride ourselves on access, the public's right to know it's in our Constitution, the right to participate. So we really highly pride ourselves in that opportunity for people to be involved. Yeah. And to wrap it up here, they can be involved in these confirmation processes of directors, judges, department heads, boards.
Well, I'm excited to see how you're going to vote on these nominations, Majority Leader.
And
looking forward to the process.
I'll be watching your vote on the board.
Thanks a bunch for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to see you.